Thank you, sir, for the kind introduction and good evening to all. So, before starting with the today's session, we will take look at we will once 1 minute. Sir, PPT is not ready. Okay, thank you. Okay, before starting with the today's session, we will take quickly look at our cloud section overview. That means what we are going to cover in next 15 days. This is the content. So first, we are going to cover the general introduction to IoT. In this section, we are going to learn what is IoT, basics of IoT, and how to implement IoT. Okay, we will take some examples, and from that example, we will understand it and why IoT is important. So these basic concepts are we will be discussing in introduction part. After that, introduction to ESP8266 and other IoT modules which are available in the market. We'll be discussing about the which IoT modules are available in the market and what are the advantages of ESP8266. And throughout the 15-day sessions, we are going to use ESP8266 in our internship program. Okay, so we will be discussing the advantages of ESP8266 in this ESP8266 part. After that, we will understand the technical specifications of ESP8266, number of pins, memory, okay, temperature, operating voltage of the ESP8266. We'll learn the technical specifications of ESP8266 in this part. After that, introduction to Arduino IDE and other platforms means that using what platforms you can program ESP8266 and integrate it with IoT cloud. Okay, specifically I have written here Arduino IDE because throughout the sessions we are going to use Arduino IDE to program ESP8266. But also we are going to discuss some other platforms to program ESP8266 like MicroPython, Mongoose OS, and Visual Studio. These platforms also can be used for ESP8266 programming. After that, simple programs, what we will do, we will run some simple programs on Arduino IDE. We will first learn how to use we will learn first how to use Arduino IDE. Okay, what are the tools are available, what are the features are available, how to install libraries, how to install boards. Okay, so that we can use ESP8266 with Arduino IDE. We will run some basic programs like blinking and all in the fifth section. After that, we will learn UART protocol. UART stands for Universal Asynchronous Receiver Transmitter. As earlier sessions, we have learned about the I2C protocol. It is very similar to I2C protocol, but little bit different. Okay, so we will learn what is UART protocol and how to implement that UART protocol in ESP8266. Okay, and why we need UART protocol in ESP8266. We will learn that also. And after that, uh, interfacing of ESP8266 means we have written here PIC 18F4520 data serially on ESP8266. That means that we have how we can interface our Wi-Fi module, which is ESP8266, with our microcontroller, which is PIC 18F4520, so that they can communicate with each other and transfer data. So there is going to be bidirectional data transmission. Okay, so that's why we are going to need UART protocol here. Okay, using UART protocol, we are going to transmit the data. After that, the hardware part completion, we will start with the software, means the cloud side part, which is Firebase real-time database. We will learn in this section how to open account on Firebase, which is very easy. You just have to sign in with your Google account, and in that how to create real-time database. What is real-time database? How we can use it in our IoT projects? We will learn in this section. Okay, there are going to be some credentials, some features of real-time database, how to get these credentials and database secrets. All that we are going to learn in this section, introduction to Firebase real-time database. After that, integrating Firebase and ESP8266. In this section, after completion with the basic programs in fifth section, which we will be running on ESP8266, what we are going to do, we are going to integrate Firebase and ESP8266 so that our collected data from microcontroller we can send on Firebase cloud. Okay, Firebase real-time database. So to do that, what libraries are required, how to install them in Arduino IDE, that all things we are going to learn in this section, integrating Firebase and ESP8266. After that, introduction to MIT App Inventor. So most of the participants are in this internship program are from non-software background, from electrical, instrumentation, and electronics. For this reason, what we have done, we have included MIT App Inventor platform. So using this platform, you can easily make Android applications without having knowledge of Java and Kotlin. Okay, these are the languages used for professional Android development. So without having knowledge of these languages, you can make your own app using MIT Inventor. It is just drag and drop block system. So we'll be learning that, and we will be creating some simple apps, simple user interface and the backend. Okay, we are going to integrate that with Firebase. That we are going to learn in introduction to MIT App Inventor. It is very important for those who just want to make their simple projects and get connected with the IoT using Android application. After that, paging and sending data to MIT App Inventor from RTDB. RTDB here stands for real-time database. Paging means receiving data and sending means sending data to the cloud. Okay, so using Android application, what we are going to do, we will put raw data in the real-time database like temperature, whatever the random value, and what we will do, we will page that value into our MIT App Inventor app. It is basically an Android app, but we will just call it MIT App Inventor for distinguishing in the next part. So we'll fetch that data and monitor in our Android application. Okay, and also what we will do, we will send data from the MIT App Inventor, MIT app, to the Firebase. Okay, so vice versa, we are going to do bidirectional data transmission using MIT App Inventor. 12th one is controlling ESP8266 using MIT app. So what we are going to do, basically bidirectional data transmission means suppose there is some sensor or some push button is connected to ESP8266, for example, just consider, and we are pushing some data, sending some data from ESP8266 to the real-time database, and from there we are monitoring that data into our MIT App Inventor. Okay, and from there, we want to send some commands back to the ESP8266 using MIT App Inventor. So, so that we can take some decisions, and depending upon that command, we can do some actions like LED blinking, turning off and on of a LED. Okay, so in that, what we are going to do, we are going to send some data from the app to the cloud, and from cloud, we are going to fetch that command back to the ESP8266, and depending upon that command, we are going to take some action. Okay, so in 12th section, we are going to learn about that. After that, this page you are seeing and all the content you are seeing right now is very important if you are very serious about your projects and even about the products. If you are planning to have a startup or building a product, this section is very important because this is the professional way in IoT. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are start with the Android Studio. Okay, so MIT App Inventor is just for simple apps, for project purpose it is okay, but if you want to go in professional, Android Studio is must. You must be able to build Android application using Android Studio. So we will introduce Android Studio in the 13 sections, and we'll make some basic apps, how to use Android Studio. First we'll learn that, and we'll make some basic Android applications using Android Studio. After that, what we will do, we will integrate our Android app with the Firebase. There are two methods to connect our Android application with the Firebase. So first one is manual method, in that you have to add some files in your repository in the Android application. And second one is the automatic method. In that method, what you have to do, you have to just log in the Android Studio with your Google account. Sign in, you just have to sign in, and there you will find one option, Firebase Assistant. Okay, you just have to click on that. After clicking on that, you will just have to click on few other buttons, and selecting after that, you will be able to select your project from the Firebase. Okay, very easy. We are going to learn that in 14th section. After integration, what we will do, we will repeat the same process which we have done with the MIT App Inventor, like means sending data from the Android controlling ESP8266 using Android app. Okay, we are going to do repeat, but the only difference here will be you are doing it with the Android application using the app you have built using Android Studio. Okay, after that, after 16 point, from 17 to 23 are very important, because the resource material available for the AWS IoT and integration of Android application with the AWS, or even ESP8266 with the AWS IoT, the resource material on the internet is not that much available. Okay, for that reason you must attend all the following sessions from starting from 17 to 23. So first, from 70, we'll start with the MQTT protocol. What is MQTT protocol? It is a IoT standard protocol used in various industries and various products also. So we'll learn that, and we'll learn how to implement that protocol using ESP8266 and integrate it with AWS IoT. Okay, we are going to repeat the same again things, but here the thing will be the cloud platform will be different, which is AWS IoT. The protocol for the transmission of data will be different, which is MQTT protocol, and all other things are going to be same. Okay, these all things, I will just go back again to the first slide. Okay, these all things we are going to learn in next coming 15 sessions. Okay, just participants, please take a look at these points, and we will start with the today's session. Okay, fantastic. So before start with the technical part of the cloud side, what we will do, I'll just ask a simple question to the participants, and participants will write their answers in the chat box. Okay, so we will go through the chat box and we'll read some of the answers, and after that we will conclude the solution and the answer for the question. So I'm going to ask a very basic question which is mostly asked everywhere. So my first question and the first topic, which is a general introduction to IoT, will start now. Okay, and my first question is, what do you understand by IoT, and what do you know about IoT? Okay, so basically you just have to write your answer in 2 or 3 sentences. Just keep it short. Okay, and just write in the chat box, what do you understand by IoT? Please, I will just go through the chat box right now. Okay, internet of things, internet connected to internet using cloud, interaction of devices through internet, things that are connected. Okay, IoT is connecting machine to the internet so that we can control it from anywhere. Correct. Devices connected to the internet. Okay, internet of things, basically internet of things is a long form of IoT. So what I want is, what do you understand by IoT? I just don't want the long form of IoT. I want, what do you understand? Things that work with the help of internet, many devices connected by internet. Correct. Communication among the devices through internet. Perfect. Any electronic and electrical device connected to local or worldwide network is considered to be IoT. Perfect. Internet of things, connecting and controlling using internet. Okay, okay, okay. See, the Internet of Things describes the network of physical objects that are embedded with the sensor, software, and other technology. This definition is available on the internet. Okay. Control the things through internet. Correct. Connecting between devices, communication between user and devices. Perfect. Okay, lot of answers are there. Most of them are right answers. Okay, so what we will do, I will just close the chat box now. Most of the answers are correct, and we'll just take the definition what I have written, and I have taken some references from the internet also. I will just read it for you. Okay, so first question is, what is IoT? IoT is the long form. First of all, read. Internet of Things is devices can be things connected to a network, communicating via data transfer with each other and acting upon it, taking some decisions, as I have earlier mentioned that. And The elaboration of this very short and direct definition I have given below. The reference I have taken from Oracle. I will just read it for you. The Internet of Things, IoT, describes the network of physical objects, objects means things, that are embedded with sensors, softwares, and other technologies for the purpose of connecting and exchanging data with other devices and systems over the internet. These devices range from ordinary household objects to sophisticated industrial tools. With more than 7 billion connected IoT devices today, experts are expecting this number to grow to 10 billion by 2020 and 22 billion by 2025. Okay. This is the definition. This is a short definition of IoT, which I have written first, and this is the elaboration of that short definition. Okay. So basically, is IoT is something devices means things in the Internet of Things. Things stands for devices are connected to a network. Network can be internet or maybe a local network. The devices connect to a network, many devices or a single device, cloud, anything. They're connected to each other, transmitting data to each other and taking some decisions. Okay, this is basically IoT, what it is. So I will give 30 seconds, 30 to 45 seconds to participants. Please read this definition and try to understand it. We will be using some examples for better understanding also. But before that, just read this definition for 30 seconds. Okay, I will give you 30 seconds again. Okay, okay. So after this, will understand the model just I have explained what things are connected to each other means what Internet of Things. Okay, I will just explain it by explaining this model. Okay, you can see here the household simple appliances like thermostat, music player, and the bulb, washing machine, okay, fridge, TV are connected to here cloud, to a cloud. Okay, and you can see here two arrows. Okay, these arrows means bi-directional data transmission between devices. Here devices can be a fridge, TV, thermostat, music player. So this arrow represents the data transmission from cloud to the device and from back again to the device also, to the cloud also. Okay, so this is bidirectional data transmission. In this model we can see that all the devices are only connected to cloud and not connected to each other. Okay, in the definition we have seen that the things are connected to a network. So here it is not necessarily that all the devices must be connected to cloud. Okay, okay, it is not necessary that all the devices must be connected to cloud only. Okay, devices can be connected to each other, transmitting, communicating with each other also via network. Okay, it is not necessary that devices must be connected to cloud only. And okay, so in next slide we are going to explain that. See here, you can see the same structure is here, but the difference is you can see the devices here. Yeah, here the smartphone is showing here. The smartphone is connected to a IoT node, which is connected again to smart gateway. Here IoT device is connected to a cloud platform, again connected to a smart speaker. Smart speaker can be a Alexa, Google Home, anything. Okay, you can see that devices are connected to each other also. They can communicate with each other via this network. These lines are basically networks connecting. Okay, this cloud again connected with the database to store the data. The big data analysis is the collected data we are going to analyze with using ML, machine learning, and AI, artificial intelligence, third party cloud. Basically it is the network of devices which are connected to each other. and transmitting and communicating via data transmission. So basically, idea of IoT is this. Okay, just we'll take again look at the this diagrams, and I'll just keep it for 5 seconds. Okay, just watch. After that, I will explain the IoT applications examples, IoT using some applications. The first example is Google Home. Most of participants may have Google Home and Alexa in their houses also. That we have seen in advertisement on TV also, that we some man woman comes and says, "Hey Alexa, play this song. Hey Google, turn on the light, turn on the AC." Okay, so basically, what is happening here, the Google Home or Alexa is processing our natural language. It is called as NLP, natural language processing. This devices, Alexa and Google Home, what it does, it processes our language, natural language, and converts it into some command, and it sends that command back to the cloud. And from there, it again fetches to the IoT device, and depending upon the command, it takes some action, device that takes some action. For example, if you say, "Hey Google, turn on the AC," so it will turn on the AC. Okay, so this is what happening here. Alexa is same as Google Home from different vendor. Next is Siska Smart Bulb. You may have heard of this bulb. You can control the uh, on off of a bulb, or you can change the color using your Android application. You can integrate that with your Alexa and Home Google Home also. You can see in the image. Okay, so basically IoT is this. And in fourth, I have intentionally put some custom projects which we have built over the years and have implemented in our own institute. So you can see in the images there are some products. This product is called as IoT based water management system, which we have implemented in our own campus, which is a custom IoT solution. They asked, the hostel of the institute asked for the solution that water is overflowing, manpower is much required, electricity is wasting. So for that reason, we decided to give solution using IoT. So what we did, we created this device, and in using this device, you can monitor the real-time water level of each tank. We have installed about 30 units in our own hostels and institute, and you can monitor water level of each and every time in real time. In real time, what means that current level of water in the tank. Okay, you can monitor that using Android application developed by us. Even not only monitor, you can control the water. To control water, there are we have provided the solenoid valves through our system. You can control the valves. So you can see here the data being collected. Data is being collected from these devices. I mean, data. What is the data? Data is here the water level. It is being sent on the cloud, which is cloud which we have used AWS IoT. And from there, we have fetched that data into Android application so that we can monitor the current water level in the Android application. And suppose for in case I want to control the walls, means I want to turn on the water supply to that particular tank and do that operation. For that reason, what I have to do, I have to press some key on the Android application, like turn on the wall, turn off the wall. Okay. After clicking that button, the data will be sent on the cloud. Okay. After sending the data, the system here you are seeing will receive that data, and depending upon that data means the command. Depending upon that command, it will act. It will take decision to turn on the solenoid valve or turn it off. Okay, so basically I have intentionally put it this so you can better understand the what is IoT actually is. After that, there is another one question. Okay, why IoT is important in 21st century? I will just read the answer for you, and after that you also read it. In 21st century, data and connectivity has become integral part of our life. Internet, smartphones, smart devices, automation, smart healthcare, artificial intelligence, machine learning, autonomous vehicles, and many more technologies. IoT can be integrated with these technologies to solve real world problems. For earlier, I just mentioned the solution we have provided in our own institute for the water management system. So to solve real world problems, this is a real world problem we have solved with the IoT. To automate things means using your natural NLP, you can turn on, turn off the bulb in your house, AC. Okay, anything you can automate it to make smart devices and hence to ease human life. Ultimate goal of what it is to ease, hence to ease human life. Okay. Over the past few years, IoT has become one of the most important technologies of 21st century. Now that we can connect everyday objects, kitchen appliances, cars, thermostat, baby monitors to the internet via embedded devices. Okay, basically understand this line. To objects like kitchen appliances, cars, thermostat, baby monitors to the internet via embedded devices. Embedded devices means microcontrollers and processors, sensors. Seamless communication is possible between people, processes, and things. By means of low cost computing, the cloud, big data, analytics, and mobile technologies, physical things can share and collect data with minimal human intervention. In this hy- hyper-connected world, digital systems can record, monitor, and adjust each interaction between connected things. The physical world meets the digital world and they cooperate. A reference is taken from oracle.com. For if you want to learn more about this, you can just visit oracle.com and learn about it. Okay. So try to understand the last few sentences which are here. In this hyper connected world, digital system can record. Digital system means our microcontrollers, sensors, the data being transmitted. We can call it as entire digital systems can record, monitor, and adjust each interaction between connected things. Things is devices connected to a network. The physical world means the digital world, and they cooperate. Okay. So I will give again 30 seconds, 30 to 45 seconds to read so you can understand it better. Please participants read it. I'll just put it on 45 seconds. Okay, fantastic. Okay. After that, we will learn what technologies have made IoT possible. We will just briefly discuss this. We are not going to read all the theory. Low cost and low power sensor technology means that microcontrollers and the sensors are available on market are very cheap these days and very power efficient. The power required to operate these devices, the microcontrollers and sensors is very much less. So to access to low cost and low power sensor technology, not only sensor technology, the microcontrollers also and the Wi-Fi modules, specifically speaking, a low cost and low power consumption. Okay, so first this is the reason. Second is the connectivity. You can may have heard about the 5G. Okay, 5G thing is currently is coming in India. Okay, it is being tested in other countries also in real time. So connectivity, the speed of internet, this also matters. Second is third one is cloud computing platform. The emerging new cloud platforms like AWS IoT. AWS IoT is very famous among the industries. Industries use AWS IoT. Firebase, Google IoT, AI Thinker cloud platforms, Alibaba Cloud. Okay, there are so many cloud platforms available for the IoT. Okay, so the third one covers the cloud computing platforms. The second one is the processing using processing means analytics and the statistics using machine learning and artificial intelligence. Okay, so we can collected data from IoT devices, things we can process using machine learning for better experience. Okay, after that, conventional artificial intelligence AI, as I have already mentioned about the Google Home and Alexa, that they process our natural language. That means when we speak, that take that voice as input, they convert into the data, digital data, and depending upon that, they give some instruction to the cloud and send the data. Okay, so basically, is AI does the NLP, natural language processing. I have put it here. You can just go through the PPT again and read these points. Okay, we are not going to waste much time in this. After that, which domains have IoT penetrated? Okay, so smart manufacturing, connected assets, and preventive and predictive maintenance. I will explain the smart manufacturing means in the industries IR4, Industry Revolution 4. The manufacturing is done by using IoT. The devices, each device is connected with the IoT, communicating with each other. Uh, Car manufacturing, smart devices manufacturing. So in most of the industries has adapted to the IoT. Okay, in the second one, connected assets and preventive and predictive maintenance by means is the machines which may require some maintenance in future. So the sensor connected to that machine can predict using ML and AI that this machine is going to need maintenance in few days, a few months, in few years. Okay, this is what connected assets. Assets mean machines or servers, anything. It can be anything. And preventive means we can prevent it before happening, and predictive maintenance. Smart power grids, which is used in power grids in the big industries. Okay, smart cities. Most of the states are adapting to this technology. Smart cities, connected logistics for transportation. Logistic means the you can track the vehicles and transport. In that sector, IoT has penetrated a lot much. Smart digital supply chains and smart healthcare. As in previous sessions, Kakade sir has also mentioned about the one product, one of our product, smart saline monitoring system. Okay, yeah, there are so many devices are available in the healthcare, and the very impact is going to have in this sector, agriculture sector, because agriculture sector, if you see, requires a lot of automations. Okay, in these days, people are adapting to the advanced technologies of agriculture, like polyhouses, greenhouses, and that um, uh, we require automation, the temperature control, the humidity control, the wall control, the water management, everything can be controlled using IoT. So in agriculture sector, IoT is going to be very impactful. Okay, uh, after that, we have completed the application of these days. Means IoT has penetrated these sectors. In coming few years, IoT is going to penetrate every possible sector out there in market. Okay, so that's why IoT is that much important 21st century. Okay, after that, we will make some we have made some list of famous IoT modules and devices which are available in market. First one is I have put intentionally ESP8266 Wi-Fi model because we are going to use in our internship program. This is the module. After that, Raspberry Pi boards, Raspberry Pi 2, Raspberry Pi 3, Raspberry Pi 4 has recently launched. Okay, these are very famous boards. Some of you may have using it also. LoRa IoT modules, it works on the radio technology, mostly used in local networks. It is not connected with the internet, used in local network, LoRa modules. Long range, long form for the LoRa. Uh, can search on internet, and the Quectel IoT modules and SIMCOM. We are not going to discuss about the most of the boards which I just mentioned. We are going to just discuss about the ESP8266 Wi-Fi module because we are going to use in the our internship program this model to connect with the or interact with the cloud platforms and the Android application. Okay, these are the list. Next up, why we have chosen ESP8266 is not even in this internship program and in our products also. Okay, so these are the advantages of using ESP8266. First one is low cost. uh, I think we have used in our products 100 rupees, 129 rupees, something like that, which is very cost efficient. And I think one of the cheapest Wi-Fi module available out there in the market. So the first reason is low cost. ESP8266 is reason behind using it. Easily available in the market. You can go on any e-commerce platform and you will find ESP8266, Robo.in, Amazon, Flipkart, everywhere it is available. Easy to use, a lot of resources are available. So it is very easy to use, plug and play pin. You just burn the code into ESP8266 and you are ready to go. So it is very easy to use, power efficient. Microcontroller on the ESP8266 works on ultra low power. Okay, we are going to discuss the technical in that power consumption in technical specifications. All required resource material is easily available. If you search about the one of the projects like temperature control using ESP8266 or just type it on the internet, you'll find a lot of material is available related to that particular project. It is not about the temperature. It is, you can just search any project, you will find a lot of resources that are available on the internet. After that, compatible with different platforms. Earlier, we have discussed about the platforms. I think I have not till discussed about the platforms, but ESP8266 can be it is compatible with the different platforms like Mongoose OS. You can program it using MicroPython, Visual Studio, Arduino IDE. Even the default firmware which comes works on the 80 commands, means after buying which is the fresh ESP8266, before using it, before dumping any code into it, it comes with a default firmware which works on the 80 commands. I will tell you later what is 80 commands and all. So it is compatible with the different platforms. That's what I want to say here. Flexible and advanced features, so features we are going to discuss later in this session. Security features are there and active community. Okay, so these are the advantages of using ESP8266. Okay, just take a look at it again and we will proceed further. Okay, fantastic. After that, before starting with the technical specifications of ESP8266, we will discuss different versions of ESP available in the market, ESP8266. The SoC stands for System on Chip. The entire system means TCP IP stack, the GPIO pins, microcontroller, everything is available on a single chip. That's why it is called System on Chip. It is an entire system, not a single microcontroller or something. ESP8266 is system on chip versions. So there are a lot of versions are available. ESP8266 is 01, ESP01, ESP02, ESP03, and likewise. Okay, these are the versions. There are other versions are available. I have just selected the famous ones. Okay, so these are the system on chip versions. Next is some famous ESP8266 kit versions. It is called as BMOS G1 Mini. It is also ESP. It uses ESP8266 12 module, and this is ESP8266 12E Node MCU kit. Node stands for a thing or a device. MCU stands for microcontroller, and here E stands for enhanced. It is the enhanced version of ESP8266 12 module. Okay, so that's why they have put E here. So throughout the session, we are going to use this Node MCU kit because a lot of the participants, instead of saying participants, a lot of the students and professors use this Node MCU kit for their project purpose. Okay, so it is likely to be available with the everyone. So that's why we have chosen Node MCU in this internship program. Okay, so we are going to use throughout the sessions Node MCU kit. Okay, now we will understand the technical specifications of Node MCU. Take note here. Node MCU. I am saying Node MCU. We will understand the technical specifications of Node MCU, not VMOS G1, not these versions, but strictly we are going to see the technical specifications of Node MCU kit. Okay. Okay. We'll start with the technical specifications of Node MCU, 12E Node MCU. Okay. The first one is CPU. Which CPU it uses? Tensilica L106 32-bit RISC processor. In previous sessions, sir has described you what is 32-bit, 8-bit processor. It means that it can parallelly process or simultaneously can be able to process 32-bit at a time. Okay, so it is a 32-bit RISC processor. RISC stand for Reduced Instruction Set Computer. It is type. It is a computer type. You can learn more about it by searching on the internet. Okay, IEEE standard. It is a standard, world standard for WLAN. WLAN for wireless local area network. Okay, it is a standard. It uses that global standard 803. It is number 802.11 EG. Okay. Uh, what I will be doing, I will provide you the resource material to understand this concept more. Okay, if you want to learn this concept deeply, okay, you can use these references. We will share those references on the WhatsApp groups, and you can learn more about it. Okay, what is IE standards? What IE stands for? Okay, long form, International Engineers for Electrical and Electronics. Okay, so after that, clock CPU clock frequency, it is 80 megahertz and can reach up to 160 megahertz maximum. Memory SRAM, it has RAM is used for storing variable values. It is 32 kilobytes, and the program memory is 4 MB megabytes. Operating temperature, it can function perfectly in minus 40 degree to 125 degrees Celsius. Frequency range of Wi-Fi is 2.4 gigahertz to 2.5 gigahertz. Operating voltage is here 3 to 3.6. See here, if you provide lower voltage than 3.0, the ESP8266 Node MCU module will not work, not function properly. And if you provide the higher voltages than 3.6, it may damage Node MCU. Okay, so it can permanently damage the Node MCU. So do not apply the voltage above 3.6, and also do not apply voltage below 3 volt. Okay, so for that, use a 3.3 regulator which ranges in between that, and provide power supply the voltage to the ESP8266 using this regulator, 3.3 regulator. After that, the operating current, the average value it consumes is 80 milliamperes continuously. The Wi-Fi, which ESP8266 has, works on 2.4 gigahertz frequency. Supports the WPA and WP2 security, where you can learn about WPA and WP2 on the internet, because this security and all these have different domains. We cannot spend so much time on describing these features. Okay, so just you can go on the internet and read on the Wikipedia. Just do that. After that, network protocol, which protocol it supports? The Internet Protocol version 4, IPv4, TCP, UDP, HTTP, FTP, file transmit protocol. Here you can search, it can be a task for you. Just go on the internet and search what is the long form of TCP, what is the long form of UDP, what is HTTP, and try to understand it by yourself. Okay. After that, very important protocol here is TCP, which we are going to use in ESP8266, which is the very fundamental and basic block of any protocol. The TCP IP is the protocol, and the peripherals available on the ESP8266. First is Universal Asynchronous Research Transmitter (UART), GPIO, General Purpose Input Output Pins, I2C interconnected circuit, I2S inter circuit sound. It is for integration of sound devices with the ESP8266. And the PWM, ADC, and SPI serial parallel serial peripheral interface, ADC, analog to digital conversion. All of you know that. Okay. So we will discuss these topics in consequences in coming sessions. Okay. And after that, GPIO pins. There are 17 GPIO pins are available in Node MCU. Okay, you can use it for input and output. Not all the 17 pins you can use. There are some restrictions. We will also discuss that also. Okay, after this, just take a look at the technical specifications of ES-Spectro6. I will just give us some time. And what you can do after the session is over, try to go on the internet and search about each and every concept I just have talked about. Okay, so you can understand it better way, because without practice, without if you don't do it by yourself, you will not master this IoT concept. Okay, after this we are going to discuss the platforms which are available for very famous platforms. There are so many platforms available for IoT. I will just discuss the famous ones which are used by many developers and enthusiasts. Okay, the first one is Arduino IDE, which we are going to use in the session in our internship program, and the IoT Cloud. Recently, Arduino has launched their own IoT Cloud platform also. We'll also discuss that in later in the sessions. So using Arduino IDE, you can program your ESP8266 chip. Okay, so that is the reason. Second one is MicroPython. Using MicroPython, you can also program the ESP8266. The IDE for that they have put it in their official site, ESP Express. Okay, you can learn about the MicroPython. Using MicroPython, you can program the ESP8266. The Mongoose OS, you can may have heard about the Mongoose OS. You can use Mongoose OS when your application is very high end, means lot of functionalities involved. In that case, you can use Mongoose OS because it is a very heavy software. And Visual Studio is very similar to Arduino IDE. It's like just you have to install a plugin in Visual Studio and you can start with the programming ESP8266. Okay. And about the AT commands, I already earlier have mentioned also AT commands about the. So when you buy ESP8266 module and it comes directly from the vendor, which is a ESP Express company, so it comes with the default program. We can call it as a firmware, cannot call it as a program. It is a firmware which responds to the AT commands. AT commands is a sets of commands in a particular syntax and standard. So if you provide these commands serially, serial communication, UART communication using, so the ESP8266 can respond to those commands also. Okay. So we are not going to discuss about the MicroPython and Mongoose OS and other platforms I just mentioned throughout the sessions. We are going to use Arduino IDE, and the reason is very simple. It is very easy to use for as a beginner to get started with ESP8266. Arduino IDE is very easy to use. Okay. So what we will do, time is okay. From tomorrow onwards, we are going to just 1 minute. From tomorrow onwards, we are going to start with the Arduino IDE and how to install the boards. We are going to understand how to use basically Arduino IDE for IoT using ESP8266. Okay, we are going to start learning from tomorrow onwards, and mostly tomorrow onwards there is not going to be a theoretical concepts, or I'm not going to discuss any theoretical concepts. I'm going to just show how you can do some simple steps and can enable your device with the IoT. Okay, so from tomorrow onwards there is going to be a very practical perspective with the sessions. Okay, so what I will do now, I will just show you how to install. First I will show you from where to download Arduino IDE. We already have put it in our Google Drive, but for the knowledge, I will just show you how from where you can download the Arduino IDE and how you can install it and what precaution you should take. Okay, so what I will do, I will just go on to the internet and I will just write for downloading Arduino IDE. What you can do is just write Arduino and .cc, just hit enter. Okay, the official page of Arduino.cc will appear here. In this, just select in the software section, go in the software section, and you can see here all the download options available. The first one is if you are operating a Windows machine, just select this Windows Win 7. Win 7 is Windows version 7 and newer Windows 10. It can work for higher versions from 7, Windows 7. Okay, just if you want to install the exe file, executable file, just click on the first option. If you want to download the zip file, and then after that you have to unzip it and then install it. So rather doing this, just select the first option and it will go with the next. But before continue with the download, what I will do, I will show the other options download options available. Windows app, you can just download it from Windows app, Windows Store, App Store also. And for Linux, you can just click depending upon your machine. Okay, and for Mac OS, you can click here and download it. Okay, so I'm using Windows 10 machine, so I will just click on the first option. And here you can just see the two options are available. If you want to contribute, you can contribute. Else, you can just click on the download. You do not have to pay any money. Just it is an open version, open source, so it is free to download. Just click on download, and downloading will start. Okay. After downloading, what you will do, just double click on it and install it. After installation, 3 pop-up will appear on screen. These pop-ups will of hardware, means for USB drivers. Okay, so what you have to do, just have to click on install on each tab, each pop-up. You have to just click install, install, install. What it will does, it checks that your system has the USB drivers which are required for programming using Arduino IDE, and if it is not there, what it will do, it will just install the drivers. Okay, so the 3 pop-ups will appear. You just have to click install, install, install 3 times at the end of the installation part of Arduino IDE. Okay, I already have installed. I will just show you, because earlier in while installing MPLABX, many of the participants had some problems. So that's the reason. See, it is showing that I have already installed. There's very easy steps. Just have to click next, next, next. At the end, you will find 3 pop-ups will appear automatically on the screen. Just have to click install, install, install on the 3 of the pop-ups. Okay, it will install the required USB drivers, and you are good to go with the programming using Arduino IDE. Okay, what we'll do from tomorrow onwards, we are going to firstly we will understand how to use how to use Arduino IDE, what are the tools and features are available on Arduino IDE, how can we program ESP8266 using Arduino IDE, which steps are required, how to download the board, we have to download the board into Arduino IDE, how to do that. Okay, so very technical things are there, very small steps are there, don't miss any steps, watch the entire session very carefully. Okay, so we are going to start with the programming of we will start with the basic programs from tomorrow onwards, and after that we will interact with the ESP8266 using Arduino IDE. Now time is over, I think, and the yesterday's session on the PCB, the Kakade sir will answer to the questions by the participants. Okay, okay, I will just open the questions, and yes, TCP stands for transmission control protocol. Sir, Arduino is IoT device or not? Basically, Arduino, what Arduino? Arduino is a company. Okay, Arduino Uno is a board. Arduino R3, Arduino IDE is a software. Okay. So what you're trying to say, please write your question again. Okay. Arduino Uno, do you mean by Arduino Uno or ESP8266 is, please write your question again. I will answer that. If you are saying Arduino Uno, then it is not a IoT device because it is not enabled with the Wi-Fi or the internet. You have to add additional shield of ESP8266 or LAN to integrate it with the internet. So if you are talking about the Arduino Uno, this is the answer. And basically we are using Arduino IDE just to program ESP8266. Okay, the PCB questions are TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol, correct. To connect with the Arduino, we have to download codes. I do not understand, but in the sessions, we are going to provide all the required material. We are going to talk about in much detail how to download the libraries which are required for ESP8266 to enable it with interact with the various cloud platforms. Okay, so we are going to go with the very sequence. No problem. There is one question: how much secure is IoT as there are many hackers nowadays? See, I'm going to talk about the security section of the IoT in coming sessions. I will just answer that in those sections. Okay. So don't worry. We are going to cover that also. The security section of the IoT. Okay. If there are any other questions, please ask about the question is defined by there is one direct question to me: why 433 megahertz frequency is now allowed? It is may come in government's spectrum of radio frequency. That is the reason it is not allowed. Okay? Someone else is which has we may they have by bought the band for that particular frequency may have rights to use only. That is the reason maybe they are using the 433 megahertz frequency. What about the reliability of ESP8266? In consequence sessions, we are going to also talk about the ESP8266. As we know that ESP8266 also come with the microcontroller itself. Okay. So why we are not using the microcontroller which are available on the ESP8266 Wi-Fi? We are going to talk about that in the coming sessions. So all the doubts are going to clear in that. How IoT device work over the internet or same network? Using protocols, basically using protocols. The TCP/IP we have mentioned, the UTP protocol, HTTPS protocol. Okay, using this protocol, the devices interact with each other. So to connect, we have to give the SSID and password of your Wi-Fi or the access point to ESP8266 so that it can connect to a network, to internet, to the network or internet. So, and using a protocol which is TCP/IP or HTTPS, the protocol be anything. So using these protocols, they can interact with the internet in the IoT devices. Does ESP8266 has an MCU? Yes, it has. Yes, that's why we are going to use Arduino IDE to program. Okay. Yes, ESP8266 has a MCU. In earlier presentation, we have mentioned the Tensilica processor also. It has microcontroller on ESP8266. We can program it for specific applications. Yes, we can use it in local network as well. Can we use without internet? Yes, we can use ESP8266 in local network as well. You may have heard about the application available in the Play Store, which is called Blynk app, BLYNK. Using that, you can connect with the ESP8266 and interact locally. You can just control LED bulb. You can take read sensor data locally. You do not have to connect it with the internet. So we can work in offline. Same network means in local network. Yes, definitely. most of the questions are raising here now. We are going to cover in much depth all the concepts, security, features, connectivity, protocols in the coming session. So don't worry, we are going to cover everything. If the questions are over, I would like to hand over the session to the Kakade sir for PCB question answer session. We are going to talk about the reliability of ESP8266 and in what condition we should use it for maximum reliability in the coming sessions. We are going to discuss that also. I think there are no other questions. So I will hand over the session to the Kakade sir for PCB, yesterday's PCB session, and you're going to interact with Kakade sir. Thank you.
Okay. I have already uploaded recorded session on PCB design. One more session. We'll provide link of this recorded session immediately after end of this session. Even I have uploaded. I am going to provide link of recorded session for patents and IPR. So those who are interested to understand about patents and IPR, I request them to watch a recorded session. And because of limited time, I cannot conduct live session on patents and IPR. So that's why we have decided to provide a link of recorded session. So after designing the PCB, what we should do, manufacture it. After once you design the PCB, you need to develop prototype. Let me open my file. Yesterday I showed you need to make negative. Even process of making the negative in DipTest software I discussed. After making negative in the software, you save your negative in PDF file. While saving your negative in PDF file, your scale must be 1:1. You must write your file in PDF on 100% scale. Do not change the scale. If you change the scale, you cannot put component properly in PCB. It will be waste. So print of negative must be on 1:1 scale. In prototype making, usually people make use of photoresistive material. So therefore, when you manufacture PCB using photoresistive material, all these operations must be carried out in dark room. And in dark room, you are allowed to use only red light. So you can put bulb which emits red color. First of all, clean the PCB, apply photoresistive material on it. Then dry this photoresistive material with the help of oven. PCB lab is usually equipped with oven. After drying the photoresistive material on the PCB, put this negative on top of it. And then expose this photoresistive coated PCB along with this negative to the ultraviolet rays. Ultraviolet rays will pass through the white portions of this negative and they will be blocked in this black portion. This white portion, on the white portion of this negative, you will have copper. And in the black portion, copper will be removed using photo etching method. So what is done? You put this negative on top of photoresistive coated PCB and then expose it to the ultraviolet rays. So source of ultraviolet rays will be also there in the PCB. This exposure is for around 1.5 minutes. So expose this photoresistive material through negative for around 1.5 minutes. After that, remove the negative and put developer solution on the PCB. When you put the developer solution on this PCB, what happens is that the area which is exposed to ultraviolet rays becomes more hard, and the area on the PCB which is not exposed to UV rays, it gets dissolved in this developing solution. So after applying developing solution, you will have areas where photoresistive material is removed, and there are areas where photoresistive material is retained. So where photoresistive material is retained, underneath there is copper, and from the areas where photoresistive material is removed, you can directly see presence of copper. So when you put this PCB in ferric chloride solution, the areas where there is no photoresistive material will be etched out, and the areas where there is photoresistive material will be retained. So this is the method used for prototyping purpose. In mass manufacturing process, manufacturers do not make use of this photoresistive material. What they do is they make use of screen printing technique, and the screen printing technique is not cost effective for prototyping, because manufacturers make use of this special screen for manufacturing of your PCBs. So for manufacturing of one PCB, you need to pay around 1,000 rupees for making setup, and this setup consists of green mask layer, uh, then your PCB layer. So this screen printing technique, what they do is they apply low cost color, and this color is resistive to this ferric chloride acid. So they also make use of ferric chloride acid for manufacturing of PCBs. So what they do is low cost color, that color is not sensitive to sunlight. So they apply this color even in sunlight as well. So what they do is through screen printing technique is used for printing the cards. Nowadays, this technique is not used widely, but for PCB manufacturing, this technique is still widely used. So what this PCB manufacturer do is they use screen printing method. What they do is they use their positive instead of negative. Sorry, I'm really sorry. Still they use their negative. What they do is they apply this color through screen on the PCB. So where copper traces are required, pads are required, automatically through screen printing, color comes on the PCB. After that, they dry it and put it in the ferric chloride solution for etching purpose. So in mass manufacturing process, photoresistive material is not used because it is expensive. However, for prototyping purpose, method using photoresistive method is cheap and fast, because in mass manufacturing, you need to create different layers. So that takes time. But once those screens are prepared for applying the green mask, for applying the color related to your traces, that is very cheap in mass manufacturing, because same screens are used again and again for more number of PCBs. So mass manufacturing process is different and prototyping method is different. What I do is once I fabricate the PCB, I do not directly go for mass manufacturing. What I do is I fabricate 1 or 2 prototypes. I mount the components. I carry out rigorous testing, and once rigorous testing of PCB is complete, after mounting components, putting software, testing, then I go for mass manufacturing. And if corrections are required, I modify the PCB. Once again, I fabricate the prototype. I mount all the components, put software, carry out testing, and if the prototype becomes successful after all tests, then I go for mass manufacturing. PIC 18450 has RISC architecture, reduced instruction set. It has RISC architecture. So once your PCB design file is ready, after all corrections, you can email this PCB design file to PCB manufacturer for mass manufacturing purpose. Can I connect power planes used to mask extra copper to ground track? Will it help in reducing ground bounce? See, effect of ground bounce is already minimized by microcontroller manufacturers. They have already put number of more number of VDD pins and VSS pins. There is one problem. If external noise enters power supply of microcontroller, then that may cause abrupt change in content of program counter, and your program may not properly work. So this condition I call it as software hang up. So there you need to add either inductor or Farad bead. So let me quickly discuss this part. Stylus. Yes, I would like to tell one EMI problem. When I designed wireless mobile auto switch, I carried out rigorous tests. Even though after carrying out rigorous test, when it is practically deployed at customer side, that motor was 10 horsepower. So usually motors operating on higher power, they generate lot of electromagnetic interference. So I installed one wireless mobile auto switch at one customer side, and that motor HP rating was 10 horsepower. So problem was my system used to get hang after 7 days, sometimes after 20 days. And it happened in 2016 when I installed at customer side. At some other locations also I sold few units. There was no issue. The reason was the horsepower rating of motor was below 5 HP at other locations. But the location where horsepower rating of motor was large, there was serious issue. And issue was I received phone call from customer that system is not responding to the SMS, system is not responding to the phone call. And I also dialed number to the system, and system was not responding. Call there was ringing, but system was not accepting my phone call, and it was not accepting phone call of user, and it was not also accepting SMS commands. So it took 3 iterations to understand the problems. The problem was that 10 horsepower motor was generating lot of electromagnetic interference, and because of this interference, there was software hang up issue. Software was running. I use different methods, like I use watchdog timer. I also use this brownout reset. Still, it did not work. Problem was the electromagnetic interference created by this motor. Sometimes it was very large, and it was causing random change in content of program counter. And you know that when there is random change in content of program counter, it does not, this your program is not executed in proper sequence. So this was the issue, and it took around 3 visits as customer side to understand the problem. And another thing is, it was not possible to understand problem very quickly. The reason is system used to get hang sometimes once in a 7 days, sometimes once in a 10 days, sometimes once in a 18 days. So after 3 visits, I corrected the problem. Problem was this wireless mobile auto switch. I use power supply for microcontroller, 5-volt power supply for microcontroller, and I use GSM modem. It was operating on 4.7 volt. So we have here power supply, 5-volt power supply, and it is connected to one pin is grounded. Power supply has one ground connection, and output 5-volt is connected to microcontroller, that is PIC 18F4520. So I use this same microcontroller in my wireless mobile auto switch. So as noise generated by this 10 HP motor, it gets coupled through PIC microcontroller through power supply, and it was creating problem. So after understanding the problem, I quickly devised solution, and solution is simple. What I did was, instead of connecting this pin directly to the microcontroller, I connected inductor of 100 microhenry, around 100 microhenry, in between VDD pin. This is VDD pin. So I added here one inductor, and this inductor value, I think it is 66 microhenry. You can use any inductor from 66 microhenry to around 160 microhenry. Now what happens is that the electromagnetic noise generated by large motors is in the form of spikes, sudden change, and you know that inductor blocks sudden change. Your 7805 regulator cannot block the spikes. So spikes automatically passes through power supply. So with the help of this inductor, I solve the issue. So to make product reliable, you must first of all understand what is the problem, and then you devise the solution. So instead of inductor, you can also add here ferrite bead. I write the word here. After this session, you get the information on Google. What is ferrite bead and how it is different from inductor? There is small difference in ferrite bead and inductor. Is the PDF file of negative used for product method? Yes. Whenever I design any PCB, what I do is I create negative in DriftTest software, and then I write it to the PDF file on 1:1 scale. After that, I take printout of this negative on trace paper. And while taking printout, I again keep scale 1:1. Never change the scale. Otherwise, if you decrease the scale, your components will be bigger. So footprint of component will not match on the footprint of PCB. If you increase the scale, footprint of component will increase. So to match footprint of components on actual footprint on the PCB, you must take printout on 1:1 scale. In our institute, we do not have system to apply silk layer. So manufacturers, first of all, they complete the PCB manufacturing process, and later on, with the help of another screen, they apply the silk layer. So it is like screen printing method. You know, invitation cards, many people make use of screen printing method for printing the invitation cards. So same method is used for PCB. So there is separate screen for applying silk layer. There is separate screen for making the PCB. That is putting your traces. And there is separate screen for putting green mask. So 3 different screens are used. Any question? Is there any other question? So there is one request, small video. Actually, we do not have facility in our lab to apply green mask. So whenever we fabricate the prototype PCB, we do not apply any kind of green mask. Can we develop PCB using Proteus software? Yes, it is possible. But as I already said, whenever you convert schematic into PCB layout, usually you need to do lot of adjustment in final design, and that's why I myself do not use automatic method of PCB design. I always prefer to use manual method of PCB design. When I started product development, I started drawing the schematic and converting schematic into the PCB layout, but it did not work properly. So thereafterwards, I design all the PCBs using manual method. So if I get video on applying green mask on PCB, I will definitely share with you. Otherwise, I may ask my PCB manufacturer uh, to make small video of how you apply green mask, and I will get it from you. Just let me differentiate once again. If you fabricate prototype of the PCB, just one piece, using photoresistive method in your lab, cost of small PCB will be few rupees. Maybe it may cost 50 to 60 rupees. If size is around 12 centimeter by 12 centimeter. But if you fabricate one PCB with green mask and other screens, then cost may be more than 1000 rupees. And in addition, uh, manufacturer manufacturer may take around 8 to 10 days to hand over one PCB to you. So what I recommend is, if you want to fabricate prototype PCB, you try to fabricate in your institute lab. There must be PCB lab facility. And for mass manufacturing, this photoresistive method is not cost effective. You must outsource it. Deep test PCB design file I have already uploaded on the Google Drive. There is one folder, PCB design. So this file is inside that folder. Just download and go through it. You can open that file in Deep Test software. So if you want to learn PCB design, download Deep Test software. If you have not installed, install it, and then open the PCB design file which I shared with you through Google Drive. And also watch one more recorded session. Link of that recorded session I will provide you immediately after end of this session. So may I end today's session here? All questions are over. And another thing is, we cannot shoot video of PCB making. The reason is, prototype PCB making is done in dark room. So shooting is not possible. So thank you. I'm going to close today's session.